little bit about that?
The club started. There's a guy that started the club's name's Ira Jersey.
Hmm.
I actually coached his son for a couple years at the youth club, and he's always wanted to start something, or he's always wanted to be involved in something. So he works at Bloomberg. He's got a really good career, soccer fanatic, the whole nine yards. And he was very interested in starting something on the kind of the college age side. So they launched the men's program first,
Hmm.
and they decided that they were going to go into the USL two, which um, is basically the college age high level league for men's soccer players in the country.
Hmm.
And then from that point, I was heavily involved in a lot of the decision making for a lot of that stuff as kind of a consultancy type thing. I felt kind of cool for once in my life and could call myself some type of consultant. And then, I felt at that point, all right, here's a great idea. Why don't we start a women's team as well?
Hmm.
And at that point, and that's when a lot of the U.S. soccer stuff was going on with the lawsuit for equality pay, equal pay, and all that stuff. So I did feel it was really hugely important, especially for our area, that we had both a men's and women's program. Because there was none in Mercer County where we are based out of,
Yep.
which is part of Central Jersey. Um, and it was really important to me that we could try to see if we can get it off the ground, and we were able to. So that's cool.
No, it's great to hear that. And obviously, speaking of the club, so it's quite fresh on the women's side of thing. It's quite new. Take us through last season and how that went.
Last season it was interesting. We had our tryouts in December of 20, I guess would have been 2021.
Hmm.
Um, and actually no, it would have been 2020 at that point, December of 2020. And we had about 35 girls out there, so could have been a lot better. It's not. I mean, the men's program had 150 kids show up,
Oh wow.
for the tryouts. So, and we ran it right beforehand. So thank God we did, because we would have looked like fools after, with 150 to 30. But it was a quality group of kids, and then from there, we knew that we needed more help.
Hmm.
So we started to use our relationships a little bit more,
Yep.
and we were lucky enough to get about, I think we had 4 girls from Princeton University join. We had another girl from Old Dominion join. We had a goalkeeper join from Murray State. So there was a lot of things that happened after tryouts, between tryouts and the start of the season, that really set the tone for what we were going to do.
Yep.
And between January and I would say May 1st, it's really a lot more about just getting kids, you know, pushing them to go try their hardest in their spring college seasons. Um, and last year's group, we had a lot of Division 3 players, which is not a bad thing at all. There's definitely some competitive. There's not that much that separates a kid from playing Division 1 soccer and Division 3 soccer. The only thing that really separates them, in my opinion, is just the quality of their decision making is more consistent over time. So when we started last year, we were in a good spot. We started off with a win at home. We had about a week of training beforehand, and that was really important to us. So we pushed the girls to make sure that between the end of their season, their spring season, and when our first practice was, they need to kind of stay fit.
Yeah.
Um, Memorial Day is a huge holiday in our country, especially in New Jersey, because everybody kind of goes down the shore that weekend. So the WPSL program is a little bit weird, where we started the season before Memorial Day, and then we
Hmm.
had off Memorial Day, and then we had to jump back into it again. So we basically played one game, just like play one game, and then we had like 2 weeks before had to go play the next game. So our schedule got a little jammed up the first couple weeks of June,
Hmm.
where we played 4 games in 2 weeks, and we played like a Friday, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, and that was just like, it was way too much, and then you're chasing points during a whole entire week, and that's really what it comes down to, is like figuring out from a coaching side and a director side of like, all right, what kind of program do we want to be? Do we want to be the program that is setting these players up for success for their college seasons, or do we want to win? Right? Because nobody plays. And I think people are dumb if they tell you they don't, but nobody plays sports to not win, right? Like, what's the point of playing a game if you're not going to try to win the game? You
Exactly.
know.
Yeah.
And if you win and you fail, then okay, but so we had to find that line of what we wanted to be as an organization in those
Mhm.
first 3 weeks of the season.
Yep.
Um, and we felt we did a pretty good job of getting through that. And then by the time that happened, 5 games were done
Yeah.
in 3 weeks' time. And then we really wanted to focus on 3 more games. And then you could just tell that the girls were a little bit more disinterested in a way because the heavy lifting had been done.
Yeah.
And the other part of it too was the secondary goal based on last year was trying to figure out how do we get the gap from the bottom player to the top player to be a little bit closer.
Mhm.
So when we do get to those times of the year when we might have 5 training opportunities before the next game,
Yeah.
we need to be in a better spot from a training environment to be able to provide a better service for these kids to prep for their college game, for their college preseasons. Um, Overall, the season was a huge success. I mean, we were able to get, I think we drew about 300 fans a game, which is
Oh,
pretty
wow.
good. Yeah,
That's
it's pretty solid.
okay.
We had a couple theme nights which were fun. We did. I'm a huge Hawaiian shirt guy. So I call myself the Andy Reid of the WPSL. I don't know if you know who Andy Reid is. He's the Kansas City Chiefs football coach,
Yeah.
the NFL coach. And every year when he goes to the coaches meeting, he just wears Hawaiian shirts the whole entire time instead of a suit. I love that guy. So I mean, I'm a big Hawaiian shirt guy. We had a Hawaiian Friday, like a Aloha night.
Yeah.
That was fun. We had a night where they weren't able to, typically for the local high school kids, they do this thing called Mercer 33,
Mhm.
where they recognize the top 33 seniors that are graduating.
Yeah.
They weren't able to do that because of COVID. So we actually did that in our halftime of the first home opener, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Um, yeah, our area code, like from our phone numbers, are 609 here.
Mhm.
So we did a 609 night as well. It was like sold shirts at 609 proud and all that stuff. So that was pretty awesome. Um, and then I'm trying to think what else we did. So we did a lot of fun stuff. I mean, anything minor, like just typical minor league system type, like just fun, like just trying to survive and and really enjoy the process of running a good soccer organization. Um, and then we made it all the way to the division championship. We ended up having to play the Gotham Reserve team, which was essentially the NWSL's. From what I was told, and I don't know if this is true, so you can delete this if you don't believe it, but basically they took the kids that they were interested in, that they thought they were going to be able to sign for the following year,
Mhm.
and they brought them in and they put them on that team.
It was their
So I
trial
mean,
squad.
yeah, I mean, but I think that's what actually happened because they ended up signing like 7 or 8 of the kids,
Yeah, right.
right? And we're sitting there as coaches, and none of us have ever coached like a North Carolina versus Duke game, right? So it's just a whole brand new experience for me of like, how do I tell my kid how to defend against this girl that's unbelievable,
That's gonna go
right?
play NSL, NWSL next year.
Yeah, yeah, and then it's going to make like a huge impact and difference in the league. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, there was probably like 5 college All-Americans on that team.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah, it was probably one of the most legit. Like I was telling my girls, our team, and I was also telling the people in the stands that night when we lost them the first time 2-1. I'm like, a lot of people that I know came out and watched that game. I was like, I don't think you realize what you just watched. Like in 5 years' time, you're going to see those girls on television. They're going to make it a huge difference in the league.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we played them in the conference championship. We actually were up 1-0, and then it kind of just went downhill from there. But I mean, that's the culture we had. Like the end of the game, the girls were just so excited to be part of something. They took like they kind of like mocked Gotham in a way where they like did this huge presentation for themselves for the plaque that they got for second place. It was so funny. But that was last year, and good group of personality players. It
Yep.
was awesome to be around. So yeah.
No, it sounds like it was like an awesome first season for the girls, just to build the foundations. And also,
Listen, I'm a huge believer. If you're not going to do something and enjoy it, and create an environment that people can enjoy, what's the point of doing it? You know what I mean?
I feel you, man. I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
No, that's as you said, you got to enjoy it. And as I was saying a little bit earlier, creating that environment for the players, but also trying to find the footing and trying to figure out where the club was going.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was an overall success. It looks like yourself was happy, the players were happy, and just sort of building up for this year and what it will be.
So when we got done with the season, we really just sat down and figured out like what is it exactly that we want to bring back next year in terms of the first team.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of our players that we had last year were in situations where they were going to be either seniors this coming year or they were going to be graduate students. So like we really couldn't get them back. And that's the tough part about what we do. Is the ability to have retention is going to be difficult. Like having successful retention in terms of can we get 80% of the roster back is just kind of impossible in a way. You just don't know. You just have to look at the makeup. So like right now, I'm looking at the roster right now.
Yeah.
From the teams that we had last year, reserve and first team, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have 13 players that are returning.
Wow.
So we have 32 players that'll be on the WPSL roster.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's an additional 7 to 8 players that are reserve players. So we try to get around 40 players. So that way when we play in the WPSL and then we play in what we consider our, for the reserve games,
yep,
we have opportunities for everybody to get some type of game time this summer.
No.
And the other goal that we wanted to do was the top player to the bottom player. Could we make that gap a little bit smaller so that the training environment becomes even better than it was last year? So those are the 2 key goals. But having said that, I mean, we're coming into the season in January and we're going to all these meetings virtually.
Yep.
Like we're expecting to be in Gotham Reserves division. We're expecting to be in STA and Match Fit and PSA's division. Mm-hmm. And then they go and do the alignment and we're in a totally different division. Right. So now it's like, all right, well, now we're back to square one again because we're playing against teams that we didn't get to see last summer.
Yeah.
And we're going to be traveling a little bit more to away games. So like this weekend, we got to go up to Kutztown University up in Lehigh Valley, which is about a 90-minute ride. And then on Tuesday, we got to drive to Philly Fever, which is I'd say about 30-minute drive from where we practice. And then we turn around on Friday, we drive out to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is another 90-minute drive. And then the following week, we got to go play up to Torch, and that's probably an hour drive. So the good news is we get all our drives out in the first 2 weeks of the season for the most part. But having said that, it's going to be interesting to see how our girls handle it. And it's going to be up to me to figure out how do I manage all these 32 players that are expecting to play.
Yeah.
But you can always justify it by turning around and saying, listen, like, what's the ultimate goal of you being here? Is it to go play or is it to prepare you? Right. And that's really how we set the tone as an organization is you might there's going to be opportunities for you to play, but it might not be what you think it is. But just remember why you're here. You're here to probably prepare you for your preseason. So you're going to get 3 trainings a week with us for 10 weeks. That's 30 training sessions that you don't have to pay for. Like we're the first team players, we don't make them pay for anything. So, you gotta see from a broad scope of what service you're getting anyway, and like anything in life, you shouldn't be guaranteed playing time. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting way, but like I'm looking forward to this year. After watching the girls train for the first 2 nights, like I'm really excited about the energy that they're bringing.
Yep.
It's a very young energy, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. And we'll find out tomorrow night what we're about real quick, so, but it's fun, it's fun to see them. It's fun to see them have to figure out together that they either need to put up or it's not going to happen, and I told them last year, I was like, I think the girls over here that are returning,
mm-hmm.
I told them this the other night at practice. Like the girls that are returning can tell you right now that this is going to go by like that. Like the next 2 months are going to go by.
Oh, it flies. It
Oh yeah.
absolutely flies.
The sooner we become a group of players,
Hmm.
right? Especially during games, like the more successful you guys will be as a team.
100%.
But if you guys want to just, basically train and prepare, then
That's
it's
fine.
gonna, yeah, it's not gonna work. So yeah, we picked up some huge pieces. Um, Actually, this week we picked up a girl. Her name is Emily Smith. She's transferring from American to Rutgers as a graduate student, and she's very good. So we're excited about her. We have our whole back lines basically returning from last year, so that's huge. I think the things that we were missing last year were a target striker,
Hmm.
like a good hold up player,
Yep.
and an attacking midfielder. Um, we have a girl that's playing with us, and she should be playing with us for the next 4 or 5 years now. Where she's going to be graduating from high school, and she's going to be playing at Lehigh University next year. So she's with her youth team right now until they finish out the season.
Yep.
So basically, like we try to bring her in. Her sister played for us last year,
Mhm.
actually. We like her. There's another target forward we brought in. We're missing an attacking midfielder, so we try to find a couple more of those this year.
Yep.
And some good wing play as well. So it's exciting. And all these girls are coming from schools that we didn't have a lick of even sniffing last year in terms of like getting anybody. So it just tells you that word is spreading that we're doing good things, which is
No,
awesome.
it definitely is. And yeah, no, look, thank you for joining us and having a quick chat and giving us insight. And it looks like it is amazing work that you and yourself and the rest of the team have done in such a short time. And as you're saying, you've gone from a list being that the difference between your first team and your last player to like narrowing it. That's insane. And also, yeah, as you mentioned, getting all these schools in the local area on board and just getting players coming back and recruiting quite well, which is brilliant to see. And we're excited to follow it throughout the year and having you guys back on. Oh, sorry, across the next across the next 2 months. We're looking forward to following the club and just watching it grow would be brilliant to see.
Sounds good. Yeah. And I would love to be back on at any point you need me. So,
Will do.
all right.
Thanks.